Hello everyone and welcome to the March book review / rant. This month I read 2 books and that I'm going to explain why that happened. So first of all, we'll start with the book that was fine. I read The E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber. I read it before and I'm pretty sure I included it in last year's first 20 books that I read review last year. But I'll just go over it again real quick. It's basically a business philosophy book. It talks about 3 types of people that every business owner should be. There's the technician that's focused on doing the actual work and doing it in the present. There's the manager that focuses on managing the work and is focused on the past, keeping things like they were in order. And then there is the entrepreneur who looks ahead and creates the work for the managers and the technician. And anyways, the E-Myth is saying that most people that start their businesses are technicians, and they say, oh, well, I can do this work, why am I doing it for my employer? And then they go off and start their own business and they fail. And it's basically because they are only thinking like technicians. They're not used to all the other stuff that goes into running a business. So I wanted to reread it because thinking about doing some business sometime soon once I feel like I don't suck anymore. So yeah, that was the good book. Once again, E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber. Very good if you're interested in business. Okay, now on to the rant portion. So, I spent the first 24 days of this month trying to read, I succeeded in reading Death's End by, this is a Chinese name and I'm totally going to butcher it. I think it's supposed to be pronounced Cixin Liu. I just call it Cixin. Makes it easier to spell. You guys can see it. Anyways, it's translated, but all the names, if I try to say a name, I'm totally going to mess it up. So I might edit this and add in the text so you guys can see what I'm saying, although I don't know if anyone is going to understand Chinese either. So, okay, so this is the 3rd book in a series, and the first book is The 3-Body Problem. The second book is The Dark Forest, and this is the 3rd book, Death's End. I read The 3-Body Problem and The Dark Forest, I think in like November or December of last year, and those books were amazing. The first book was really good, and the second book is an absolute masterpiece. That one's Dark Forest, and yeah, that one is like not my favorite sci-fi, but like definitely in the top 5. It is so good. So I'm going to talk about the first 2 because you need them to understand what's going on in this, and I'll talk about the first one very vaguely at first, and then I'll tell you when I'm going to spoil it. So if you're interested in reading them, you can stop watching me and go read them. And after that point, which I will warn everyone, I'm just going to talk about everything. So if you want to read any of these, but you shouldn't read this one, then do not watch after I tell you. Okay, so the first book is called The 3-Body Problem, and it starts in the Cultural Revolution in China, which I had no idea about. I, thought Hitler was bad, and then I learned about Stalin, and I thought Stalin was bad, and then I read this, not this, I'm looking at the 3rd book, but I read the first book, The 3-Body Problem, and I learned about the Cultural Revolution, and I was like, oh my god, this is pretty bad. So yeah, if you're young and like me and you don't know much about the world, it was pretty eye-opening just to read about the Cultural Revolution stuff. But anyways, that's not the important part. The important part is during the Cultural Revolution, there's like these scientists that send out a signal to the universe, and they get something back. And the message back is, don't send anything to us, or our civilization will come and destroy you. So I don't think we're at the spoiler point yet, because it happens pretty early on in the book. But anyways, one of the scientists sends a message back, and then the aliens come towards Earth, and it's going to take like 400 years for them to reach Earth, so we got time. But in the meantime, there's a lot of cultural stuff going on. So there's this game called the Three Body Problem, which is probably where the title originates from, that the aliens develop to kind of recruit people on the Earth, humans, to help them. So like on Earth, there are like people that are, for humanity. There's people belonging to humanity that are against humanity, which, I mean, I personally can't understand, but I can reason that there might be people like that. And then those are the two groups. I don't remember what they're called. It was a while since I've read them, but there's this special term for this anti-humanity human group. Sounds funnier to say. But anyways, it was like a recruitment tool, and it was all about kind of showing off the alien culture to humans. And the game goes through all sorts of stuff. There are like stable periods and unstable periods. There's like hydrations and dehydrations. And it all relates back to the alien civilization. So basically, there's lots of cultural stuff. There's human versus human conflict. There's humans trying to figure out what to do about the alien stuff. And then there is something that the aliens do, which, okay, at this point, basically, vague part of the first book, The Three Body Problem, is we send a message to the aliens, they send something back saying don't message us, and then we message them back, and then they're going to invade and kill us. So they're on their way, and that is the vague part of the Three Body Problem. Now, if that sounds interesting to you, and I would highly recommend reading these, then stop now, because I will spoil your experience. So if it's sounding cool, which I think it was pretty cool, and especially the second book is really cool, but I have to talk about stuff in the first book to make sense of the second book, then do not watch anymore, and you'll miss out on my anger, but it's worth it. At least the first two books are worth it, okay? So go read the first two books, and then come back and be like, alright, now I want to go see why the third book is so awful. Anyways, alright, spoiler. Aliens send these particles called sophons, which tamper with humanity's fundamental advances in physics. So basically, they stop us from advancing and being able to defend ourselves. They keep us in the same technological state that we're in right now versus their vastly superior technology. So that is the end of the first book. They send those particles to us. We find out about them. They stop us from advancing in particle physics. Physicists start killing themselves. Yeah. And it's funny because the first time I read it, they're talking about particle accelerators and how like the law of momentum was being broken, and I was like, what? And then I went out on the internet and like searched if that's possible. And people were like, "Oh, keep reading the book. It'll make sense later." So yeah, I mean, like, there's really cool ideas in the book, and the main idea, in my opinion, of the first book is halting another civilization's technological progress, which I thought was super cool. Um, so, anyways, these softphones have certain abilities. Um, they can pretty much be everywhere and on the Earth. They're tampering with our particle accelerators. They also are entangled with another softphone back on the alien planet. Oh yeah, I'm gonna call the aliens the Trisolarans. That's what they're called because they have 3 suns, and that's where the three-body problem gets its name from. So their system is really unstable, so they want to come to Earth, and that's like their main motivation for coming to murder us all. Where was I? Oh yeah. So the soft ones are entangled with the another soft one pair on Trisolaris, their home planet, the alien home planet. Not gonna try to explain what quantum entanglement means, but basically, 2 particles are able to communicate with each other, faster than the speed of light, which we don't really. I don't know enough about physics to know if that's possible. I know with quantum entanglement, you can basically determine what the other pair will be, but I don't think you can actually transmit information faster than the speed of light. But in the book, you can. So we're just gonna assume that that's possible. So the softphones are used to spy on humanity. And so at the end of the first book, humans are like, "Oh crap, we got some problems." So on to the second book. Or yeah, well, okay. Like the first book was very good. I would say probably like 8 out of 10. Had some really cool ideas. I mean, it's Chinese, so I'm not sure I like you know, I don't know. I don't understand. It's like the first Chinese book that I've read, so yeah, I don't know. It was very interesting, very cool. But the second book, oh, the second book. Okay, the second book is called The Dark Forest, and humans figure out that Trisolarans are very different from us, and that they can't hide their thoughts. So the Trisolarans can all like know each other's thoughts, and they can't hide their own thoughts. So humans have to come up with a plan to defend themselves, and they come up with the Wall Facer project. So the Wall Facer project basically selects 4 people to come up with the plan to save humanity all in their heads. So one character named Luoji, yeah, Luoji, Luog, no, God no, Luoji. He's like a professor, and the reason he is selected is because this one old lady told him some stuff about, or he like studied cosmic sociology when there's like no known aliens. So he was selected, and he's basically a loser. And then there's like 3 people that are like really connected in the political world or in the scientific world that are also selected. And the Wall Facer plan has these people make up the plan for humanity in their mind, because the soft ones can see and hear if we're talking to somebody or writing our plan down. So basically, these people have to come up with a plan all in their mind, and they have pretty much unlimited power to implement their plans. So let's see, how do I explain this? So, anyways, the aliens come up with a counter to the plan called the Wall Breaker Project, and basically they each assign a person to figure out the plan of the wall facers and basically announce it and crush their hopes and dreams of being a wall facer. So I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've read it, but like one of the wall breakers is one of the wall facer's wife, is the wife of the wall facer, one of the wall facers, who actually like finds out his plan by listening to him in his sleep or something like that. Kind of creepy. And then I don't remember the other wall breakers, but anyways, 3 of the wall facers fail and have their plans broken by their wall breakers. One of the people came up with like a mental seal, like investigated neurology and all sorts of stuff to give people some sort of psychological seal, which I think eventually was used for escapism or something like that. One person's plan was basically to nuke everything. Kind of like if we can't have Earth, neither can you. And then another person had some sort of remote ship plan. I don't know. Anyways, 3 of the wall facers failed. And we're stuck with loser man, sociologist, cosmic sociologist. So, loser man, cosmic sociologist, is his own wall breaker, according to the aliens. There's no wall breaker assigned to him. He's his own wall breaker. And he comes up with a plan to cast a spell. So, I know this is not physically correct, not physically. Oh gosh, I'm making up words. I know it's not actual science, but this guy comes up with a plan to send a signal off of coordinates to a star system, and so basically they like shoot a signal out of the sun, and then it amplifies it to shoot it off into the universe, which is not possible, as far as I know. I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, is that really true? No, it's complete fiction so far. Anyways, so he sends the signal off and selects a star, and then basically says, oh, I'm going to go hibernate until we see if that star is destroyed. And he like wakes up later. Doesn't know if the star is destroyed, but basically no one cares about the Wall Phaser project anymore. Everyone thinks that they're going to win. They've like made some progress in like fusion technology, so they've like come up with fusion ships and stuff, and fusion bombs, and they're like all confident that they're gonna whip up on these Trisolarian invaders. So they go off to battle, and they get their butts kicked. Like the Trisolarian ships. Basically, how do I explain it? They just like zigzag through the ships, which humans like don't know how to do. We have to like decelerate and stuff, and they just instantly change direction, which should be very, very hard. So most of humanity gets absolutely dumpstered, and there's a few ships that realize what's happening, and then they all shoot off as fast as they can in separate directions so that the Trisolarians can't catch them all. So there's a few people that go off, and a few ships that go off, and then let's see what happens after that. Oh, anyways, then humanity's like, oh crap, we're in trouble, and they kind of remember Liu Ji, the wall facer, and then they find out that indeed that star that we transmitted the coordinates of with our sun, that got destroyed. So, oh gosh, I feel like I've been explaining this for way too long and no one's following. But anyways, I'm going to keep going. So, Luigi, the last wall facer, can't send a signal with Trisolaran coordinates, because the Trisolarans have at this point sent a probe to the Earth that stops us from transmitting stuff to the sun, or like intercepts our signal. So we can't do that anymore. But the main fleet is not here yet, so Earth isn't screwed over yet, and so all of humanity is like, yeah, let's give some more money and support to Liu OG guy, the last wall phaser. So let's see. I think I don't, because in the book it's presented as somewhat insignificant. The last wall facer comes up with this plan to like create a net of nuclear bombs around the Earth, and as some sort of really primitive defense mechanism. And nobody thinks it's going to work, so everyone kind of hates the last wall facer anymore. They're all thinking that they're doomed now. And the scene in the book is pretty amazing, actually. So Liu Ji is working on this project, and he's sending all these nuclear bombs in a certain orbit, and he's pouring all of his time into this project that is completely not going to work. And towards the end, he grabs a shovel, and I'm pretty sure. Okay, so he grabs a shovel. He like goes on a bus. Everyone recognizes him, and they throw him off the bus, and they all hate him and all sorts of stuff. Think he's a failure, and he goes to like dig his grave. I'm pretty sure he goes to dig his grave. Maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I'm pretty sure he does. He goes and starts digging his grave, and then whispers. Or no, he doesn't whisper. What am I talking about? He like says he wants to speak to the Trisolarans, and then the Trisolarans are like, "Okay, what's up?" Well, they don't say that exactly, but then Luigi basically says, "Oh, if you kill me, I will send a signal to the universe saying, where your star system is, and they will destroy that." And the Trisolarans are like, "Yo, how are you gonna do that?" And he's like, "Oh, all those bombs that I rigged up are set to go off, and in order so that the bombs going off is the signal, so they don't need the sun." So he finds a way to basically send a signal off and come up with, or he figures out the Dark Forest philosophy, which is what the book is all about. So if you haven't been listening and you've been dozing out, listen up now, because this is the important part. So the Dark Forest philosophy is that the universe is a dark forest. Basically, it's filled with people. Well, not necessarily people. It's filled with all sorts of civilizations. And the reason we don't know about any of them is because, let's see, it was two principles. One was technological explosion, and I don't know the term for the other one. But anyways, even if you know about another civilization, their rate of technology can eclipse yours faster, like super fast. So it makes sense to get rid of them so that they can't get rid of you. So basically, it's a deterrence strategy to just kill anyone that you see, because that way they can't kill you. And makes the point that even if there are civilizations that are out there that care about helping newer civilizations, there are other civilizations that will just fire off a shot in that direction. They'll basically just fire off into the bushes of a dark forest if they see a rustle. in the bushes. So basically that explains why, we don't see any aliens. And I don't know how credible the theory is because we haven't seen any other ones. Not theories, but we haven't seen any aliens. But it's very, very, very interesting theory. That's the reason. Perhaps that's the reason why we haven't seen any aliens, because anyone that broadcasts is going to get killed. So the second book was just absolutely insane. And then there's like some stuff with the ships that escaped that I don't really need to explain like that's another good part to read about, but I don't really need to explain it to show you why the third book is so awful. So that was Dark Forest. Dark Forest was all about figuring out how to kill another civilization. It's just broadcast their coordinates out into the universe, and Liu Ji, the last wall facer, figures that out and basically stops the alien invasion by threatening them, saying, I'll signal off where your coordinates are and you're going to get destroyed. And he saves humanity. So second book, amazing. I cannot do enough justice explaining why it's so good, so kind of spoil it, but yeah, since you're listening right now, but it's very good. So maybe at this point you're like, you know what, Justin spoiled it all, but there's those things that he didn't explain good enough because he's not that good. So at this point you still might want to read it, and that's fine. I'm going to talk about the third book, and I'm going to explain why you shouldn't read it. So I found out about this trilogy when I was reading, or when I was lurking through r/books, a subreddit, and I was looking for some sci-fi to read, and this series was highly recommended, but people were like, yeah, third book's not that great, or well, basically they thought the first book was good, the second book was better, and the third book was not good, or not as good. And I tend to agree. I think the first book was really good. Like the whole stopping another civilization with like tampering with their technology advancement was a really cool idea. The second book, which went into all these plans, elaborate plans, an elaborate break-in of plans, and all this political stuff and technology stuff and cultural stuff was, it was so good. The second book was amazing and way better than the first. And then you get to this, which, how long have I been recording? I don't know. Oh my god, this is going to be a long one. I've been talking about the first two books for like 25 minutes now. On to the third book and why it's so god-awful. So, if you want to read the third book, and after me explaining the first two books, you're like, wow, those were really interesting, and you do want to read the third book, then, whatever, I'm going to spoil it. So, you've been warned. You don't want to read it anyways, trust me. Okay, the third book has a main character called Cixin Liu. I'm guessing. Last name is Xin. Cixin Liu. And this character basically has everything handed to her throughout the entire book and consistently makes the worst decision that could possibly be made. Could possibly be made. So, this book has a character that you just want to hate. I want her dead every single time it's possible. And she never dies. And everything works out for her and screws over everyone else. Okay, so, come on, Justin. Maybe you're just being a little irrational. No, I'm not. This character is terrible, and here's why. Okay, so this girl gets gifted a star by her one of her college friends, terminally ill, and this college friend like helped one of his other friends with some soda recipe that went super popular in China, and then that guy decided to give this terminally ill guy a bunch of money. So around this time, people were selling stars. You know, it's kind of like one of those, um, kind of like one of those. I think there was like some. I think there was something like that in reality. That was like a total scam. But anyways, this guy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy a star for this girl that I liked when he was in college." So this terminally ill guy buys a star for the main character, Chang Xin, and Chang Xin is part of this committee to come up with plans, and one of the alternative plans to the wall facer project, which I discussed in the last book, Dark Forest, was called the what was it called? Oh Jesus! Oh no! I hated it so much I didn't remember what it was called. Okay, well I don't remember what the plan is called, but anyways, they're gonna send a brain to the Trisolarans and hope that Trisolarans can turn that into a person and basically have that person be a diplomat or a spy. Um, so they decide to uh, screen for terminally ill people that have the qualifications, and then they pass euthanasia laws around China and all the other countries to basically try to get candidates for this program that they can just send a brain off to. Um, and I guess it's ethical because the people wanted to die anyways. Um, so Chang Xin uh, talks to this guy, the terminally ill guy, into doing the program, and she doesn't know that he got her the star. Um, so, oh god, I'm going so slow through the beginning of this, and I'm just so mad. Anyways, so this guy likes her, gives her a star, and she's like, "Oh, here, let's harvest your brain and send it towards an alien civilization." Oh, I just anyways, so all right, that's not even the bad part. So anyways, they send him off or whatever, and then uh, the girl's boss, his name's Wade. He told her after they sent it, or after they went and got his brain, that he was the one that got her the star, and then ever since then she's like, "Oh, he got me a star. I care so much about him." Blah blah blah. Okay, so that was just a really funny part. She just like, "Oh, I know this guy. Let's get him. Let's take his brain and send him off towards the aliens." Okay. Whew. All right. After that, this girl goes. She hibernates for a while, and at that point, when she wakes up again, there, Liu Ji, the guy in the previous book who came up with the deterrence plan to send the signal off to everybody, he is the sword holder. And then after the Wallfacer project became the sword holder project, um, and the sword. Oh god, I can't say sword. The sword holder project is all about one person holding the switch to transmit the location of the Trisolarans. And basically, you know, that one person can hold the switch whenever. If there's a Trisolaran invasion, they can just pull the switch and Trisolarans will be effed. So, Liu is the original guy who's doing it. He's like 100 years old at this point in time, and people are like, "Oh, we should probably select someone else to be the sword holder." So at this point in time, Cixin wakes up from her hibernation. She's super rich now because she sells like rights to the planet and the star that she owns. And apparently, she actually legally owns it for some reason. So now she's super rich for no reason, basically given to her by this one dude who let her harvest his brain for her and send her off to the aliens. So she's super rich. She hires this person in this new era to be her like CEO of a company or to manage her stuff. And because she owns this star and she's super rich, she kind of becomes a celebrity in the new era. And people are all like, "Oh, we should have her be the sword holder." So they elect her to be the sword holder. Now, the only problem is she's very, 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 very empathic. And why would you select someone who's empathic to be your deterrence against an alien civilization? Ask the author. Ask the author. That's all I have to say. No, that's not all I have to say. It's awful. Why would you ever elect anyone that has to doom another civilization to be empathic? Oh God, it's terrible. So, if you guys haven't guessed already from me saying that this person is very empathic, she becomes the sword holder, and then the Trisolarans invade, and she doesn't press the switch. She just lets them invade. So after that, the Trisolarans say, "Okay, you guys can all live on Australia." So all the humans go and live on Australia. A few billion people die. Conditions are pretty terrible in Australia, and it's all this girl's fault, in my opinion. And throughout the book, everyone is like so nice to her, like, "Oh, yeah, you didn't pull the switch, but we're not going to be mad at you." Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. She's never held accountable for anything. That really makes me mad. Anyways, so humans are off in Australia, and they are okay. So the ships that went off after the fight in Dark Forest, when the aliens pretty much screwed us, said your ships suck. A few of them escaped, and after we made peace with the Trisolarans, Earth said, "Yo, ships, come back." So one of the ships came back to Earth, and I don't remember if everyone was executed, but everyone was basically put on trial for being a traitor to humanity or whatever. And they all, went to prison or whatever. Then the second ship also got that signal, and it was kind of like it was decelerating but wasn't turning back yet because they're kind of cautious. And then they found out that the other ship got effed, so they're like, "Oh, okay, full speed ahead, we're out of here." So then Earth sends off one ship with a gravitational antenna to go pursue that escaped ship to bring in the traitors. And the gravitational antenna is important because it's a way to transmit the location of a solar system. So that ship is escorted by two Trisolaran ships, or not two. There's just one, I think. Anyways, it's escorted by a Trisolaran ship, and that Trisolaran ship attacks the gravitational ship at the same time that the Trisolarans are attacking Earth, because there's a change in the sword holders, and this new super empathetic Cixin is becoming the sword holder and holding the switch on Trisolaran. Okay, so So anyways, Australia is really sucking, and you go from the story in Australia to the ship that's being pursued, and I mean, it's kind of cool, but seriously? So the ship goes into areas of four-dimensional space and then finds out that they can move around there and like do stuff. So that ship that ran away and is being pursued uh, destroyed the Trisolarian ship and took over the gravitational antenna ship. So at this point, the humans are like, oh, the aliens were going to attack us. We figured that out. Then they all take a vote on whether they're going to broadcast the Trisolarian solar system. And most people are like, yeah, screw them. So at that point, the Trisolarians leave Earth. They're like, oh, well, Earth is so close to the Trisolarian system that Earth is going to get destroyed not too long after. So the Trisolarians all leave. They're like, okay, you guys do whatever. You guys go ahead, do your thing, try to survive, even though we've just like killed 1 billion people. Whatever. So, so the humans do. They move out to the other continents again. They come up with different plans. And they're talking with the Trisolarians at this point, and the Trisolarians have actually revived that brain that Cixin sent off earlier, and Cixin gets to go talk to that one guy in college that likes her, who got her the star. Through the use of softens, they are letting them like kind of Skype over cosmic distances. So that's kind of cool, although probably not possible. Anyways, they're talking and they're in 2 capsules, and the capsule that Cixin is in is rigged with a bomb. And if the Trisolarians determine that the college boy that loves her is going to give them information that the humans shouldn't have, they'll basically blow up Cixin. And so, I'm really rooting that she's going to get blown up, and of course not. So anyways, the college guy writes or is talking, and then they're flashing warning lights like, don't talk about this. So he's like, okay, let's just talk about the fairy tales that we talked about when we were younger. And they didn't really know each other when they were younger. He just written these fairy tales for the Trisolarians. He tells Cixin the fairy tales, and the fairy tales are actually super metaphorical and give very sensitive information to humanity, and humanity has to decipher that. So that's one of the good parts of the book, is the fairy tales that college boy writes, and humanity is trying to decipher them, figure out what the meaning is behind them. So like the book does have decent parts. Like there's the 4-dimensional parts that come in just in the nick of time and are super handy. There's the fairy tales, which help humanity, and decipher them is really fun. But that doesn't change the fact that this main character, Cixin, is the worst. Is the worst. To my friendly channel, is the worst character ever. Okay, so far she's sent off her lover. I mean, I don't. At this point, she doesn't really. At that point, she didn't really know she liked him, but like she likes him. She sent her brain off to the aliens. Oh, they get to talk again. That's fun. Then she didn't pull the trigger when it was time. Okay, what's the next mess up? So, okay. People are coming up with all these plans. And Cixin is like, oh, I'm going to go hibernate again. Or wait, no. Okay, so there's a few plans that humanity comes up with when they're deciphering the fairy tales. One is called the Black Domain plan, because they ask the Trisolarians, is there any way we can send a message out to the universe saying don't attack us? And the Trisolarians, for some reason, tell us yes, but we won't tell you how to do it, which is stupid. Okay, there's just really stupid things throughout the book, like why didn't the Trisolarians just kill us instead of letting us live on Australia? Like, why did the Trisolarians say, oh yeah, you can send off this message saying, we're not a threat, but we're not going to tell you how to do it? It just doesn't make any sense. So, where was I in my rant? Oh yeah, so there's this safety message, and people are trying to figure out what it means. One of the proposals is the Black Domain Project, which basically says, let's lower the speed of light in our solar system and make it so that we can't escape it. So kind of lower the speed of light below the escape velocity, or what's the, I don't remember the technical term for it, but the lower it below the speed that we need to escape the solar system. I think it's like the third something velocity. I don't remember. Anyways, so that's one plan, is permanently cripple yourself. Another plan is space cities around the Jovian planets, Jupiter, all that sort of stuff. So basically, we're going to create these space cities on the side of Jupiter so we can hide when they blow up our sun. We'll be shielded from the explosion by hiding behind Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune, all that sort of stuff. And then there is the other plan that is politically banned, which is, let's just get out of here. And they rationalize it as that it cause a large amount of political unrest. It would also require, light speed technology, or technology that we don't have. And oh yeah, this proposal for light speed that we have would locate, or would reveal the location of Earth pretty easily, and would doom everybody. So the light speed and the research of light speed is heavily regulated and just outright banned, pretty much. So Cixin gives up her company at this point to her previous boss, Wade, who was also a candidate for the sword holder. And I should mention he also tried to kill Cixin earlier, so that she wouldn't be chosen as a sword holder, because Wade knew she was pretty freaking weak. And he fails to kill her, and he gets out of jail. And then she's like, oh yeah, here, you should do the totally illegal research, and I'm just going to give you control of my company, and I'm going to go hibernate. Which makes no sense. I mean, oh, God. I'm so mad right now. This guy tried to kill me. I'm going to give him all of my money and have him work on this super illegal plan. Oh, now let's make it even more dumber and say, oh, you have to stop your research, or you have to wake me up and I have to decide if you're going to continue research, if this is going to harm humanity in any way. Oh my God. So Wade is like, yeah, okay. And I mean, really, he shouldn't have woken her up and should have just done whatever. But anyways, he wakes her up because he's a man of his word and is a decent human being. I say that as he tried to kill her earlier, which means he is decent. Anyways, he wakes her up, and he's researching and figures out some stuff, and needs to test it. But his space city that he's working in got blockaded by the government, and when he's doing his research, he comes up with like these antimatter bullets that are going to, you shoot one into one of the space cities and just takes it all up, sucks it up, baby. So he's basically proposing, oh, we'll just have a little humanity civil war, um, so that we can research this stuff openly because we need to start testing this stuff. And of course, Cixin is like, oh, here's this guy that I had research this stuff for me, but oh, it might take human life in the process for us to get this technology. So we're just not going to do it, and I'm going to go have this guy executed. I'm like, oh God, God, can it get any worse? Yes, it can. So, I mean that is kind of the worst part for me. Is like this girl stops humanity from achieving light speed travel because some people might die. Um, oh God. Oh, I'm so triggered. Okay, moving on. So this guy gets executed, and this girl just refuses to die. So at this point, I think it switches over to, or she goes to hibernate again, whatever, and it switches over to this third alien perspective, which is like these people that are actually doing the dark forest attacks, and this alien sees something and goes and slings a thing towards our solar system to destroy it, and turns out not to be the same attack that was used on the Trisolarian system to destroy it. Instead, they attack us by making our solar system two-dimensional, basically sucking it all up into 2 dimensions and destroying it, pretty much. Oh, and let's see. The only way to avoid it is light speed ships. That's the velocity you need to escape this two-dimensional eating of your solar system. So at this point, I'm like, oh, yes, Cixin is finally gonna die. This book will finally be over. But no, of course not, because she's handed everything out throughout the entire book. So this time, Cixin, being the empathetic, good human she is, she's gonna go save some art, I guess. Even though she knows she can't escape the solar system, she's gonna go bring some art out as far as she can, hoping that when it comes into a 2D picture or surface, yeah, I don't know what the mathematical word would be. Humanity's art will be, maybe that'll be spread out farther and it won't be all crunched in with all the other stuff. Such a good person. So she goes off to Pluto to go to humanity's museum, and she gets some stuff. She meets Luigi again. He's like 150 at this point in time, and he he actually has remote control of her ship, and he's like, okay, take these, go. And then once she's off, he reveals, oh, the government did some secret research on lightspeed travel, and your ship is equipped with it. Oh, so I'm like, oh no, she saved once more. I just want her to die. Why can't she die? So she gets to go off. She gets to escape. Everyone else in the human race dies. I mean, there's still the people that are out in the ships that were sent off earlier, and they meet up with them later. But yeah, pretty much everyone in humanity dies because this person thought, oh, well, a few people might die in Civil War while we fight over should we be able to do lightspeed travel. Yeah, so, oh god, it was so dumb. So, alright, so she's one of the lucky people to escape, and she has a friend with her. And then towards the end, she actually gets caught within a black domain, and gets rescued by Trisolarian people who put her in this weird universe that's separate from the universe we're used to. And turns out that there's a bunch of these universes that are set aside. And then there's this weird cosmic message to everybody in a bunch of different alien languages that says, yo, guys, you got to return those universes to the normal universe. Otherwise, there won't be enough mass, and the universe is just going to keep expanding instead of crunching and starting over again. So just, oh god, I don't know what the heck happened in the end. I read it, and I'm just like, what? So, all right, that was kind of the book, and I've been talking about this for a really, really, really long time. Okay, pros. There's some cool sciencey stuff in the book. There's all this dimensional stuff, and the fairy tales mention dimensional stuff. The fairy tales talk about this painter that paints people into two-dimensional paintings, portraits. So like the fairy tale part and kind of what's the word? Decrypting the meaning in that was really cool. The black domain idea was kind of cool, like lowering the speed of light in a certain area and kind of making or kind of stopping yourself from escaping, but making it so no one else can see you. That was a cool idea. The light speed travel was kind of cool, but none of that matters because you want the main character to just die. I want her dead. Yeah, I want to go back in time and stop this book from being written. Oh God. She was given everything in the book, and she made the wrong choice every single time. I kept reading because I was like, oh, I bet it'll get, maybe the ending, it'll all come together, and, I'll be like, oh, wow, that was genius, No, that never happened. So, don't read Death's End. No, I mean, yeah, you can read it. You can read it. I just didn't like the main character. I thought she made the wrong choices. But there was some cool ideas. But, it was after reading the first two books, like, I'm not against this author. I'm probably going to go read another book by this author. The first two books were amazing. The second book is like, seriously, the Dark Forest is like seriously on probably top 5 science fiction. Up there with like Ender's Game and Stranger in a Strange Land, that sort of stuff. It was very good, very good. And maybe this is like I'm going to compare this to my favorite movie. Maybe this is like Shawshank Redemption, where the first and second book were Shawshank Redemption, and right after I watched Shawshank Redemption, I watched Field of Dreams, and after you watch Shawshank Redemption, which is such an intense movie, you watch Field of Dreams and you're like, this movie is god awful. Maybe it was one of those things where I just read the first two books and they were so good, and the third book just didn't compare. But I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I wish I didn't read it. Yeah, so, wow, we're at an hour. I have talked about how much I hate this book for like at least 30 minutes, probably. So I hope you guys understand why I only read 2 books, because I was very frustrated. I didn't want to read this. I mean, I wanted to read it, but then when I read it, I realized I didn't want to read it. But I wanted to finish it because I thought it would be good, and it wasn't. So, yeah, thank you for watching all the way. If you enjoy me ranting, maybe I'll do it more often. There's a lot of stuff in the world that I hate. Yeah. What am I going to read next month? Let's see. I might read some more. Or, last month I said I was going to read some Neil Stevenson. Obviously, it didn't happen because the books are super long, and I was stuck on that book for like 25 days. I am going to read Ancillary Justice. It's won a bunch of awards in sci-fi, and so far it's pretty good. Not that far into it. I'm going to read Linux Basics for Hackers. I've already read part of the way through this, and I'll talk about it probably next month. But just going through Linux, making myself hate Windows some more. Maybe I can rant about Windows, and my Windows is so terrible. I'm going to be reading Eloquent JavaScript, probably. Hopefully. It's pretty thick and kind of goes into some of the more in-depth stuff of JavaScript, but I'm going to be the JavaScript man now and rant about why Java is so terrible, but JavaScript is the best language ever. Which is a joke for my dad, but my dad shouldn't be watching right now because he's got to read the second book that I spoiled. But you can comment, Dad, and say, wow, this is a long video. Okay, let's see. What else am I going to read? Oh, I'm also going to read probably The Fountainhead. Probably read The Fountainhead again, which is my favorite book. Probably says a lot about Justin's political ideologies. Yeah, maybe I'll rant about socialism. That'll be another rant to talk about. But you know what? I actually feel better getting that out. And just, I feel good. I feel much better now. All that hatred pent up inside. It's now I shared it with you guys. So thank you for taking it, and I'll look forward to giving it to you in a completely family-friendly way. Okay. This has been the March book rant / review, and hopefully I'll read a lot more next month, or this month. Thank you for watching. Peace out.